All right.
Good morning and welcome to Finding Heroes in Business. My name is Rob Herkett. I am the host of our podcast. I am the president and founder of Boost Your Business, a full-scale digital marketing agency. And I've been in business for 40 years and I've seen some extraordinary people doing some extraordinary things and wanted to start showcasing those individuals making a huge impact on their community, on the world, on individuals. And today we've got a very special guest. Her name is Eileen Joy, and she's doing some really cool things. So let's get right into the conversation. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing and how you're making that impact.
Well, thank you, Rob, first of all, for having me today. I really appreciate you having me come on today. I am the money coach for moms. And what I do is make money easy for women and their kids.
And how do you do that?
Well, I work with so many women that come to me from so many different types of backgrounds where they might be suddenly single, or maybe they've always had their husband take care of everything and they want to learn, or maybe they've had a spouse pass away and now all of a sudden they're left to figure out pick up the pieces. Or sometimes I have single women come to me that just make really great money but really just have no idea what to do with it. And a lot of women come to me with just that scenario of, I have a great job, I make great money, but I have nothing to show for it and I don't know why. And so
isn't that a lot of people out there? I think it's scary, but it may be the majority of people out there.
Yeah, I agree. And everyone's just kind of following everybody else and keeping up with the Joneses and comparing ourselves to one another and just, I have to have that now because Sally has that, or, and it's like, instead of staying in your own lane and understanding what your life is all about and figuring out how much does it cost to be you, instead of just focusing on yourself and your family and your lifestyle and what your needs are, you're always looking outside. And that's what's keeping everybody just over broke, right? When you have a job, it keeps you just over broke.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think it's fantastic that you're working with women. In my past life, I did a lot of financial work. I had Series 6 and 7, and I did a lot of insurance and so forth, and came across a lot of issues where women in particularly either after divorce or after their spouse passed away, I even ran across one where the spouse was a financial planner, and you would hope or you would think that they would have done the planning with their wife, so in case something happened, their wife knew exactly what was going on. And they had money, they had the assets. She had no idea where anything was. She had no idea what they had. And that's a scary situation.
It is one of the number one complaints that women have when they come to me. If they were married before, or even if they're dating someone, they just don't know how to talk to their partner about finances. And that, I think, is true for most couples, because we approach money from very different ways, men and women. And sometimes, women are usually taught to stay quiet, look pretty, let the man handle it. You're living in a man's world. Just, let life happen to you. And when you're taught that as a woman and as a little girl, just growing up that way, you tend to stay quiet and not ask questions and just let things happen. And, basically it's keeping our head in the sand, right?
Right.
So then all of a sudden, when your head gets ripped out of the sand and you're like, oh no, what do I do? It's really overwhelming. So that's one of the first things that I take people through is, opening up the conversation about money is really a key to having a relationship, and also opening up the conversation about money with your kids, because kids aren't learning about money in school. We didn't learn about money in school.
Right.
don't learn about money in school unless you physically go take a class to specifically learn about a specific thing about money. They don't have like a money 101 class for everyone. We're all just thrown to the wolves and, good luck.
And guess what? If your parent is going through the issues that you just described, like, oh, I
Yes.
make all this money, I have nothing to show for it, guess what their kids are going to do?
Yes. And that's
it,
exactly what happened to me.
yeah, I mean, when it comes to money in particular, parents are the best example, either positively or negatively.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it all goes back to that. I mean, that's where our money stories begin. It begins when we're between the ages of 0 and 7. When we're growing up, that's when we're programmed, right? That's when we're learning.
right.
Whether we're being directly taught or not. We're learning from our parents and we're learning from our environment. So specifically with money, no one really sits you down and says, okay, I'm going to show you how to manage your money, right? You're just learning from watching. And it's so fascinating because your parents learned about money from their parents. Their parents learned about money from their parents. Their parents learned about money from their parents, right? It's a whole generational thing. It's a generational pattern of all these money stories that people have, the way they approach money from all different generations with all different types of things going on with money, like the Great Depression and all these different things that are now fast forwarded to now, and no one ever talks about it.
Right.
So you're taking in all of your parents' money trauma, right? And you don't even know it because while you're being programmed, it's just being programmed into your subconscious. And then that's just how you operate. Unless something happens, like you hit rock bottom or something happens in your life and you say, oh, I have an aha moment, I need to make a change. And so we learn from that. That's what creates our money stories. And so that's where we usually start is what's your money story? How do you feel about money? How do you think about money? Do you approach money decisions out of fear, out of lack and scarcity? Or do you really live in abundance and have that open mindset about how money is just flowing and money is just paper and coins and now it's air, plastic,
Right.
add to cart. But, it's all of that encompassing where you don't know what to do. And even my son had said to me that he said this a couple years ago. It was mind boggling to me because this is what really started to open my eyes to all of this. And, when I had started my business and I started really helping people and understanding the money story and the money mindset before you even start crunching numbers, because that's where it starts. One day my son said to me, Mommy, people who are rich are mean and greedy. I don't want to be rich because I don't want to be mean and greedy. I'm a really nice and kind and generous person. He said, so I don't want to be rich. And I said to him, where did you hear that? I never say things like that. And he told me he heard it on a cartoon.
Huh.
Right? So,
Or a
it's
political
everywhere.
ad.
Anywhere. It's everywhere and everywhere. So we learn about money from our parents, indirectly and directly, as well as our environment, right? And this is what's shaping us. And this is what we're consuming. And we don't even realize that that is happening.
It's really sad too because this is a child and I've always had it kind of a motto and I share it every once in a while. I said money makes good people better and bad people
Yes.
worse. And I'm a big
Yes.
believer in that. And the other side of it is, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, is when it comes to nonprofits and doing good things for wonderful people, money tends to be kind of a negative thing. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Unless you're Gandhi or Mother Teresa, you can't make the impact you want to make on people's lives unless you have the resources. We all want to make as much as we possibly can. And if we are good people, guess what we can do with that money? If we're bad people, then, we might not share. But I that is one thing that it does drive me nuts. That money is not a bad thing. It just, in the hands of people that are not naturally nice people, it looks bad. But
Exactly.
it can make good people better people.
Better. I agree. And we did have that conversation. And one of the things that I especially do when I teach about money, I teach these women the same way I taught my son. I've empowered my son with a financial education. And so he knows more about money than most adults, which is just
That's
mind-blowing.
awesome.
It is amazing. He's going to be a multimillionaire by the time he's my age. He will have to worry about nothing, and all he will have is opportunity
Right.
and choice and time freedom, and he can choose to do whatever he wants to do. And so one of the things that I do is I teach the 4 buckets. And the 4 buckets are so simple. It's saving, investing, giving, and spending. And so that's how we allocate our money when we get it.
Sure.
Right? And it's so simple. Like, it really is that simple. Right? So when we break it down to simplicity, that money really can be easy and simple, and you can teach a kid, you know. And so just recently, because one of the things that I do with my son is giving, right? Like, I give, he gives, we give time and money.
Okay, that's awesome.
Volunteering our time, right? So he is very passionate about many different organizations. So he's constantly donating money, and he's so proud to do so. So I completely negated that whole thought in his mind of, you know, people that have money are mean and greedy, because like what you said, the more you have, the more you can help people.
Yeah, no, I think to me it's one of the most important learning lessons for children is to give, and not just money, but time as well, but to have that, you know, giving attitude, that it's not something, you know, that's kind of weird, or okay, if I give my money, that means I don't have it, you know, that it just is a natural reaction. Because again, I'm also a big believer in we all live and we all should be living in abundance, that it opens up, you know, the universe to more for, you know, for him. You don't give to get more, but at the same time, the universe, you know, gives back. So
every time.
I think it's wonderful that he's learning that. How old is he?
He's 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
Yeah, we started him when he was 6.
Okay.
I really started hardcore with him.
I have a friend that's his son, by the time he started college, had well over $100,000 in his investment account, just from little odd jobs, money from birthdays and Christmas and all of that. They taught him, put X amount into this account, and over his lifetime, you know, he generated a pretty significant amount, you know, for not a wealthy child. You know, it wasn't like he was being given tens of thousands of dollars for Christmas or whatever.
Yeah, it's not about how much money you make, it's how much you keep.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And he knows he's not expecting mommy to pay for college. He knows this. He's growing up with a different money mindset than what we grew up with. You know, all these generational patterns of all the things. Like, when you get married, the bride's family pays for most of the wedding and all of these things, and you always have to go to the best school and pay and try to get student loans, and then you graduate with this ridiculous amount of debt. Now there's trillions of dollars of student loan debt out there, and then maxing out your credit cards just to keep up with your neighbor and all these things. And he's learning the complete opposite. That is not how you live. That is how you just, you know, dig your grave. You know, and that's how you live towards poverty.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, it is a mindset issue. It's not, it doesn't have to be, you know, black and white. You just have to start thinking about it differently. And again, it's gonna alleviate his stresses and anxieties as he gets older. You know, what do people stress out about as much as anything? It's either relationships or money. You know, it's one of the two.
And they affect each other too.
Yeah, and money probably affects everything.
Everything.
You know, you're stressed out over money, and you know, and again, this is a little off subject, but again, I'm a big believer in kind of the law of attraction, and someone had talked to me one time about it. He says, well, you know, what do poor people think about? They think about lack and, you know, and there's nothing there. What do wealthy people think about? They think about opportunity, and they think about money differently, and they think about, you know, how can we grow? So it's natural that the poor are probably getting poorer, and the rich are probably getting richer because they think about things differently, and they're attracting what they're thinking about in their life. So
Yes.
what you're doing
And
is wonderful for, particularly for younger people starting out.
it's amazing how many moms come to me and say, I need your help. I don't want my kids to have my money mindset.
Love
And
that.
it's really great, because I'm constantly screaming on tops of mountaintops about, the different ways to think about money and to open your eyes and to get your head out of the sand and stop following and just pay attention. Just simply paying attention just really is mind-boggling.
Yeah, no.
Put your phone down and just really pay attention to what's going on around you. And it's really amazing what can happen once you shift your focus. And what you were saying before about the law of attraction, and there's many laws of the universe, right? And there's the law of attraction, and then there's the law of intention, there's the law of action. There's so many laws. And once you put all of them together, you become unstoppable. And what people don't notice is that you're manifesting constantly. And what you said before exactly is that whatever you're focusing on, you're manifesting. So if you're constantly thinking about your bills and how many bills you have and how much credit card debt you're getting into, and oh my goodness, the mortgage, and I have this payment, my car payment, and oh my insurance just went up. Everything is just going to keep going in that direction.
Right.
But if you completely shift your focus to, well, how can I change this? How can I live more abundantly? How much gratitude can I bring into my life? How can I be grateful for my money instead of being angry with it all the time? It completely changes the whole entire focus and trajectory of your life, because your money affects everything. Like, your life affects your money and your money affects your life. So whenever you're creating goals, most of the goals that you're creating are for things to make your life better.
Right.
And that's when you approach your money on the things that you really care about and what you value. All of a sudden, your life just starts changing, and you start smiling more.
Well, and I'm assuming that, particularly somebody who maybe hasn't accumulated a lot, like you said, the woman who, I'm making a lot, but I have nothing to show for it. Once she starts changing her mindset and putting money away where she's feeling somewhat free, I'm assuming the mindset changes where it's no longer about having the, top of the line Mercedes Benz or the, 15,000 square foot house. It's now about life, and look what I did. I accomplished this. I feel really good about that. I'm now financially somewhat free, and I don't need all of that because I like the feeling of the freedom more than I do about when I was spending all my money on, I don't want to say crap, but but things. Can't take things with us when we're gone at the end of our life. So I would assume you would see a lot of that.
Constantly.
Yeah, and I think that's very cool.
Professional women come to me that have these amazing jobs, and secretly, they don't talk about it because, money is taboo and we don't talk about it. Sex, politics, religion, these are all these taboo topics that either we don't talk about or we talk about so much and then it creates all this animosity. But money is one of those topics where, shh, it's not polite to talk about it. Don't tell people how much you make, it's stupid, And so when people come to me, they come to me with this embarrassment and shame and anxiety over money because of all these whispers, and no one really understands how to approach their money and how to even begin to talk about it, because they're so quiet about it their whole lives. Like, don't talk about it. Don't ever talk about it.
Yeah.
And so that's really where we start. And it's so cool because once they have a plan, which is so simple, and then they see, oh, wow, this really is so easy. I can't believe I waited this long. Thousands of dollars are saved almost instantly, invested. All these amazing things start to happen. They grow their gap. It's phenomenal. Just recently I started working with someone. She saved over $35,000 in 3 months out of nowhere. She didn't even have a savings account when she came to me.
Good
she
for
was
her.
spending every penny. Every penny
Wow.
was gone. She didn't even know where to open a savings. I had to teach her. This is how you open a savings account. This is how you choose the institution where you want to put your money. This is how we open an investment account. This is the IRA. This is a Roth. This is it's amazing. How we just go through life following and just, we're thrown to the wolves with money and no one's teaching it. So no one's really understanding the basics of this
and
is,
you can't
I get
wait.
my paycheck and now what?
Yeah, you can't wait because time time is an issue when it comes to money. Going back to the old days when I did financial work, I used to show people. I used to do a lot with the Templeton Fund, your Franklin Templeton Fund, and they had one fund that averaged 14% over history, basically. And I said, if you just started when you got out of college and put $100 a month away every single month till you so-called retired, so 40 years, that's 50 grand if I do my math correctly. Based on their real returns, they were worth several $1 million. Now, you wait 10 years, to do that, you've got to put away 20, 30, 50, 100 times that. Time is of the essence when it comes to money. One of the few things. So
yeah, and so the earlier you can start your kids, like day one when they're born. Like my grandparents, thankfully, opens up a fund for me the day I was born, and that ended up paying for my college. Like didn't even have to worry about it.
That's great.
And so thankfully I had that. But my parents, no, they didn't. No clue. They didn't listen. But I have that for my son now. We opened a 529 the day he was born, investment accounts, all these things. And now he's doing it himself. He is investing his own money from his own allowance and from all the odd jobs that he does. And
he's in the market?
He is. Yeah,
that's very cool.
Himself. We save, we invest, we give, and we spend. And I show him how to allocate it. And it automatically happens. Every Thursday on his payday is every Thursday when he gets his allowance. And every Thursday, everything auto happens. It's automatic. And we sit down together and we have a money date. And we look at it. I also give him cash and I give him digital money. So he can understand the difference between both of them because they're both very different.
Right.
And teaching a kid now in this day and age is so different from when we were growing up, when there were people actually using cash. And when a credit card was not really used very much, and it was one of those machines where it went,
Right.
And it was the carbon copy, and you had to sign it, and and people actually used to use checks, and it's not like that anymore. Now it's swipe a card or use your phone, and just swipe your phone.
I don't even have a checkbook. I don't own a checkbook.
Most people don't anymore, right? So teaching a child now in this day and age is so different than it was when we were kids. And so I need to teach him both, because when you're looking at numbers on a screen, it's meaningless, completely meaningless, especially to a child.
Right.
So one day we went to the bank and I took out all the money that he had in his account, every penny of it, in singles. And in the bank, I asked if it was okay, and they loved it. It was awesome. I let him throw the money up in the air.
Oh, that's cool.
Let it fall over the floor, and then we sat on the floor and we counted it, and this is money. It's not just numbers on a screen. And kids need to know, where does the money come from? How does it just come out of this magic machine called an ATM? They don't understand. It's like these things we need to teach, because kids aren't learning this in school. So we need to change those generational patterns now. It stops with us, right? That's my mission, is to stop those generational patterns that we've already programmed our kids, but it's reversible.
Right.
It's reversible. We can reprogram them. We can rewrite their money story. We can teach them what having a healthy money mindset is, and approaching life through a lens of abundance instead of through fear and lack and hate, because that's what it turns into. And if we all just live this way, over the next several generations, things will be so different. But we all need to go all in together as a community.
I've had conversations with adults that they're like, really? When I go into think about, because most of people, I think we all know, have some sort of credit card debt. And these days, the majority of them are paying on the low side, maybe 15% on the low side, to 25%. And I said, and I've had this discussion. I said, well, think about this. You're making, in a savings account, you're making 1% if you're kind of fortunate. Anything safe, you're making less than 5%. So you're paying 25% here. You're making 5% here. You can't ever grow. And it's amazing how many adults have never thought about it that way. Mm-hmm. Credit card debt is just credit card debt.
And this is what I discuss all the time on my podcast, because people don't pay attention. They're not thinking this way. And it's so important to understand what's really going on, right? We learn about money from our parents, right? Well, so did everyone in the government. And if you've noticed, our country is trillions of dollars in debt.
Oh, yeah.
And that is why there's trillions of dollars of student loan debt. There's trillions of dollars of credit card debt. There's just trillions of dollars of debt all over the place. And no one's doing anything about it. The banks want your money. The banks will loan you all the money you want. Open credit, no problem, right? And just in terms of the way that most people think, right? When you go shopping, you look for a really good sale. And I'll use the example I use all the time because women relate to this, is get a sale on a really good pair of shoes, right? Shoes can be quite pricey, right? Go to the store, you have this amazing sale, 20% off your shoes. Yes, score, great sale. Put it on the card. Don't pay the bill in full by the end of the month. Oh, guess what? Not such a sale anymore, huh? Because now you're paying an additional 20% on top of that purchase, right? So now no sale. Plus, next month, you get to pay it again. Next month, you get to pay it again. How many times have you now paid for these shoes, right? Over time, that you're not paying your bill in full every single month. And that's just one purchase.
Right.
So if you're just constantly using your credit card blindly, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, that's what's keeping you stuck. That's what's keeping you from not getting ahead. So when you have a simple plan and you add fun to your budget, every budget needs a line for fun, right? Every budget needs a line for shoes, right? If you plan for these things, then you don't go into debt and you have the cash. And
there's something called a debit card. If they just like giving a card, use a debit card.
You could, but in this day and age, that's too dangerous with all the cybercrime. You don't get your money back if you have an identity theft on your debit card. So I usually don't recommend using a debit card these days. The cybercrime is ridiculous right now.
Yeah, it's...
I've been a victim of it too much, too, and I have everything of mine on lockdown. I don't even know how they got my number.
So tell me, what's the process going back to, we started with moms and we got into kids, which I think is just as important, but yes. Going back to the moms, what's the process you use? Let's say they come to you and say, I'm newly divorced. I don't really know what I have, where it is, what to do. What do I do going forward? What's the process at that point?
Well, I start everyone the same way, and the foundation is the same for everyone, but because personal finance is personal, it goes in all different directions. Because the number one question that I get asked is, what should I use my tax return for? Well, I don't know. I don't know your personal situation. I need to know everything. I need a bird's eye view of your entire financial situation to know what you need to do with your tax return. So that's when, personal finance is extremely personal, because no one makes the same amount of money. No one lives in the same house. No one has the same lifestyle. No one has the same type of family. Are they single? Are they married? Do they have 19 kids? Do they have one kid? There's so many variables involved. So first, we always start with the money story. What's your money story? And we really dive deep into the money mindset, because we can't even dive into numbers if you're too afraid to look at them.
Right.
And that happens all the time. I have so many women that literally will shut down when I ask them to pick up their phone and open up their banking app. They literally, like, I've seen women like shaking because they're so afraid. And it's a really huge problem. So that's why I always start there. Because I can assume, I'll just give you a budget and you can go on your merry way. Good luck, But no, there's so much work involved in just your mind first. So we stay there as long as we need to. And I go at everyone's pace. I meet them where they are. So I'm not like, week 1, we're doing this. Week 2, we're doing this. There's a process, but sometimes it takes us a little longer to get there,
right,
depending upon them. And also if they do have, a partner, and how involved are they? And I've had a lot of people come to me that are in situations of financial abuse, and they don't even realize it until after we have conversations. It's crazy. So we start with money mindset, and then we figure out, how much does it cost to be you? Because you need to know. Most people are just spending, like we were saying earlier, just spending, and you spend way more than you make. And you're spending money that you don't have. You're spending money. I've had people come to me where they're living off their savings account, and they're like, "Oh, I'm debt free," but you're paying your credit card with your savings, so you're really not.
Right.
You're not doing yourself any favors there. And then we figure out, well, how much does it cost to you? What are your expenses? What are your actual true expenses? Not your lattes and all those things. Like, what are the actual? What's your mortgage? What's your rent? What's your utilities? What, like, the nitty gritty stuff? What do you have to pay? And we go through all these things, and we figure out how much it costs to be you. And then once we figure that out, then we move on to goals. And we're like, okay, let's figure out our goals. What do we want? Because you know what? We get to tell our money what to do. That's the really fun part about the
right,
whole thing, is that you get to tell your money what to do. Instead of you letting, life happen to your money, you're in control. So we take control over your money, and we let you figure out, where do you want it to go, right? So we create goals, and then I teach them the 4 buckets of how to save, how to invest, how to give, how to spend. And then we teach the kids, because once they're finally empowered, their minds change, they feel so good about it. Because when you're a parent and you have no idea what you're doing with your money, you're not going to teach your kids.
right.
I've even had Zoom calls with people, with the moms and the kids together, and we have conversation, and we like set them up. We set the kids up too. We make sure the kids are set up for life. Their kids need to be set up. It's not just you, it's your whole family. It's stopping those generational patterns now.
Well, what's interesting is, and I don't know if you've seen this in your experience, I've seen it in mine, is the kids that's parents have really trained them on investing and saving and so forth are the ones that are not, hey, mom and dad, I want the $250, Michael Jordan shoes, or I want
exactly
the flamboyant things that cost, a small fortune, particularly for a small kid. Mm-hmm. They're typically a lot more, money conscious of being a little more spendthrift, which is really interesting. I mean, it's, if for no other reason, that's a good reason to teach your kids about money. Is just, you don't want kids to be out there the rest of their lives. I mean, if they're making billions and millions of dollars or whatever, then I guess they'll be able to afford whatever they want to, but at least go into it still staying within your means. Because there are a lot of millionaires out there that want to live like billionaires and so on and so on. So
it's the same thing regardless of how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much money you make. If you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, you're going to get nowhere.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much you have. You will run out of money if you're like, that's why a lot of lottery winners, when, if they don't have money management skills, they all of a sudden the money's gone, and they're like, wait a minute, I had $42 billion a month ago and it's gone.
Well, how about athletes? How about athletes?
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
It drives me nuts. I mean, there are a couple that lost literally $1 billion. How do you lose $1 billion? I couldn't.
Because you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's so easy if you're not paying attention. I use this analogy a lot because it's a very visual thing that people can relate to. It's like, doesn't matter how much you make, you get paid, right? Your paycheck is air, digital, right? Goes into your bank account. And then you go to the ATM right after you get paid, take every penny out from your paycheck in cash. And then you get back in your car. And then when you're driving home, you open the window and you take all of that money and you throw it out the window. And then you look in your rear view and you see all that dollars just streaming behind the car. And then all the cars behind you are slamming on their brakes so they can stop and get all the money, right? And it's like, you're not paying attention. That's what's happening to your money if you're not paying attention. It's just going away. It just goes. And you don't know where it went.
Yeah, no, it's a scary thought, and you know, if you think about it, you know, I'm in my late 50s. Nobody in my age category, we really have never had. We've had bad economic times, but we've never had that moment in life, you know, like they did in the 20s, where all of a sudden, you know, what you've got is what you've got. You know, you know, there's no, you're not making anymore. You're not doing all of that. None of us have ever experienced that. And there's nothing that says that can't happen at some point in time. So, you've got to have.
There's a great book called Generations. If you want to read a really great book about this, it's about all the generations going back like 100 years, and about how every decade is completely different, and how life was different, how society was different, and how that affects the way that people spend money. And it's so fascinating. And it's so just interesting to see, because right now, in this point of time in our lives, we're living in a spending economy. Everything is great. Everything is great. Even when it wasn't during COVID, it was still great. People,
right.
You know, we're still spending, just differently, right? We're always spending. And you know, it will come to a head. It will come to a head. Like back in 2008, we went through the subprime crisis. And I was a mortgage underwriter at that time and lost my job. The company I was working for was a subprime lender. And miraculously, we lost our jobs. You know, it was a crazy time.
Yeah, no,
it's just how everything ebbs and flows.
It's, again, part of the protection. You don't want to focus on the negative, but at the same time, you want to, you know, you just want to be smart with you know, having access to, you know, being financially free is having choices.
Exactly.
That's all it is, you know, it doesn't mean that you can go rent charter a, you know, 500-foot yacht. It just means you have choices, and, you know, whatever those choices are within those means. I had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and, you know, she was just talking about, I just want to travel now. I just want to, and she was so scared of money, and she makes a lot of it, but she was had a lot of anxiety regarding it. And I'm like, you know, it is what it is. You don't want to have anxiety, but you just need to be smart with your money. And, you know,
no one knows how to do that. That's probably her issue, is that she has that anxiety about money that most people do. Doesn't matter how much you have. You can have anxiety about money, whether you know, are working a part-time job or you've got, you know, you own 17 businesses. It doesn't matter. Like, I use my dad as an example all the time. Like, I learned so much from my dad, and of what he did right and what he didn't do so right. And, you know, we learn these lessons, and just reflecting on, he passed away last year.
I'm sorry.
And I reflect on, thank you. And he gave the best hugs. But I just reflect on all the things that I learned from him, like I said, just from watching, right? Just from watching what he did. And my money story, just to give you a little background, is that my parents were both spenders. They both had amazing jobs, great money. Every penny was spent in some way. My mom racked up the credit card bills, maxed out the credit cards. And then she would get the bill and complain about it. And then my dad, he had a gambling addiction, constantly gambling. He closed out all of their retirement accounts. He mortgaged the house a few times. All these things, he would get money from anywhere he possibly could to go gamble. He would have helicopters sent for him to bring him to casinos to gamble and all this stuff. It was amazing. I remember I was 5 years old. He used to take me to the horse track. I'm like, I don't want to be here, and it was crazy. Just the money was always gone. So anytime we wanted something, my sister and I, we would ask. The answer would be no, no, you can't have. No, we don't have it. No, 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 no. But all we saw was the money being spent like crazy with all these things, and it was very confusing. Then my father opened a business. And he started the business out of the basement in our house while he was working his full-time job. It was his side hustle that he grew into a multi-million-dollar business.
Wow,
I
good
was
for him.
so proud of him. He hustled, he hardly slept. It was amazing what he did to grow this business, and it was phenomenal. And all of a sudden, using his tactics of getting money from anywhere he could without managing the money in any way, he didn't understand how to manage his personal money nor his business finances. So all of a sudden the money dried up. He couldn't get any more. No one would give him anything, no matter what he tried to do. Bankruptcy. All those people lost their jobs. He closed his business, went into a major depression, and basically just sat around the house in his underwear, sitting at the kitchen table, just in a depression for years.
Oh my
And that's
Lord.
all he did. And we couldn't get him to do anything. And one day I said, Dad, why don't you go to the Y? Go make some friends. Go volunteer, go get out of the house, go take a walk. And so he said, oh, maybe I'll try that. Because he was in the Army, and he said, maybe I'll go to the VA and see if I can volunteer there. Well, apparently they do some type of assessment before they bring on a volunteer, and determined that he was too depressed to be a volunteer, and they turned him down.
Wow.
And then he started drinking. And it was just this downward spiral, right? So I took all of these lessons from watching him and realized, okay, well, what did Dad do? I got to do the opposite. I got to figure out, I got to understand this, because I don't want my life to be like that. I don't want to turn out that way. I don't want to, have nothing, because it was just gone all the time, because that's what was happening to me. I ended up filing for bankruptcy too. I lost everything. It was gone. And then I said, all right, I see what's happening. I got to fix this.
Well, you can look all over the country and you can see cycles of poverty. It's not really money management, because they really never started with anything, but it is cycle after, it started with one family member, and it's just gone through the entire, and that is a passion of mine to get involved in trying to solve that problem. It's a big problem to solve, but you're right. It is a trickle down from one family member to the next, unless someone tries to change it. And in a lot of families, they don't want the younger ones doing better than they are. So in some ways, it's sabotage. And
that's a money mindset issue.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue altogether. But going back to the women that you're working with, give me a success story that you can think of that just absolutely blew your mind. Somebody, came to you with a serious issue, and at some point they had some gigantic success that just you were flabbergasted by.
I am flabbergasted constantly, so I have a treasure trove of these stories, thankfully. But let me think. Well, there's this one woman, she came to me, she had gone through a horrific divorce, was literally left penniless. She had 2 kids. She had nowhere to go. She ended up moving back in with her mother, and she was there for quite some time until she came to me and she said, I really need help. I don't know what to do. I can't live with my mom anymore. I got to get out of here. What do I do? So we started working together, and within a very, very short amount of time, we got her out of there. We fixed her credit score. Her credit score was in the 500s. We got it into the 800s. We cleaned up her credit. We filled her savings account. She had way more than enough for a down payment for a house, and she got out of there. She now understands how to invest. She's now has an investment account that she didn't have before. She will be able to retire, because she said, I don't think I'll ever be able to retire. I think I'm to work till the day I die, And so, like, all of the things She now understands, okay, I get paid. I know exactly what to do with my money. I've set my kids up. They know what to do with their money. Now they're working. Back when we were first working, they were in junior high. Now they're in high school. And now they're working, and they opened up their own Roth IRAs. They have their brokerage accounts. They have everything going on for them. And it's all because she had the courage to come to me and ask for help. And there's so many people that are so stuck in their money story that they're too afraid to ask for help. They're too afraid to even sometimes know they need help because they're avoiding everything and they just won't even look at it. They don't want to know the truth.
Wow.
So a challenge that I give everyone is simply this. A big challenge is just go look at your money. Just go look at it. You don't need to do anything. Just go look at it. Look at what's coming in. Look at what's going out. Where is it going? Are you using your credit cards? What is the actual interest rate that you're paying? It's just all of these things. What are you charging? What's important to you? What's not? Can you get rid of things? There'll be subscription boxes that you're paying for that you're getting crap in the mail that you don't need,
Right.
TV apps you're not even watching. There's so many things that you're paying for that you don't even realize. These gym memberships that people have, they don't go to the gym. And it's like all these things are just constantly paying, but not looking at. And it's just you're blindly living through your life with your money. So if you just simply go look at it and pay attention to it for a little bit and maybe throw it some gratitude. And when you look at your money, say, thank you, money. Thank you for paying my electric bill. Thank you for giving me this internet, so I can work to create more money. Thank you for taking my son and I out for dinner last night because we had the best time. And it's like once you actually start looking at your money through a different lens and you thank it instead of be angry at it that you don't have enough, because you probably do. You're just spending every penny.
Right.
And it's that's really a fun exercise to do, is to just open your phone.
That's interesting.
Go look at it.
And do you have a kind of a chart that you create for your clients where kind of just showing, okay, I have my account here, because a lot of people just have no idea where everything is. My will is here. Just I guess it's just organization. Is that part of the process?
I do have that, and I give them that day one.
Okay.
And it takes a while to really fill out because, some people don't have that much and then some people have quite a bit. So you just start filling it out. And it's one of those things where you need to let your loved ones know where it's located. Because when someone leaves, divorce, a death, and all of a sudden you're left with, I don't know what to do. I don't know where anything is. Like these are the things you need to know.
Right.
And so simply having a fire safe in your house, I always recommend to have everyone have a fire safe in your house that's well hidden, whether it's in a wall behind a painting or in your closet or somewhere where it,
And they're inexpensive. It's a few $100s to put it into the ground. So
put all your important paperwork in there. Put something maybe on a thumb drive. I have my will. I have my power of attorneys. I have my trust. I have all my things, all my lists, everything. And then I also gave a copy to my best friend. I show my son where everything is. My son knows all of my passcodes to get into my computer, into my phone, into everything. He knows. And if something happens to me, you need to know how to get in here.
Right.
And I also have cards for the moms and even the dads. If you have kids, right? There's a little card that I keep in my wallet with emergency numbers. It's like in case, because I know they have it on the phone, but sometimes people can't get into your phone.
Right.
So in my wallet, right on top, I always keep it right on top. So if you go in my wallet, you will see it. In case of emergency, if I am injured and my son is with me, please call this number and this person will come get him. It's like these little things that mean so much. That it's just you need to prepare yourself for any type of anything.
No, because you never know what's going to happen. But
you really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend whose spouse passed away, and she had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And turned out the life insurance hadn't gotten paid in the last quarter, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a sad situation.
Yeah.
And
And
many
making sure you're set up with all of that too. Like, first
yeah.
of all, you need life insurance if you have dependents. That's a really important thing to have.
Yeah, and
Having
many
a
people
will
are
and all
well
the things.
meaning about it.
Yeah.
It's just that
Oh, I'll just get to it later. But
yeah,
things
yeah.
you
I
got to
mean,
do it now.
one day there is no later. I mean, we're not all
No.
going to die at 100 years old. Some of us are going to die
No.
in our 40s, in our 50s, in our 60s, in our 30s.
Yeah.
So
I'm constantly seeing all these on, like, just even on Facebook. Just last week, I found out that this girl I graduated high school with was killed in a motorcycle accident.
uh,
And then they had a GoFundMe because they didn't have any money set aside. They had
yeah,
a huge GoFundMe going around, and I'm like, well, if you were prepared,
I know.
you know,
I have different opinions on those things, but I won't get into that. But um, and it's funny. I somebody on my Facebook, and I didn't know them, but I'm a people watcher. So Facebook to
Mhm.
me is like watching people, and always bragging about jewelry and all the vacations or whatever.
Yes.
And some little thing, I think it was like a dental thing, and she literally put a GoFundMe on her Facebook, and I'm like, really?
Don't get me started.
Yeah, really?
Don't get me started.
I honestly, I would be embarrassed to do that. I mean, you get in a worst case scenario, you got to do what you got to do. But don't be telling me about brand new car and this, that, and the other thing.
Well, maybe
And
you can go sell some of the stuff that you have in your house on
yeah,
Facebook Marketplace.
assuming it was even real to begin with, maybe it wasn't even, maybe it was never
Who
real and it
knows?
was just
Who
whatever.
knows?
But that's a whole nother story. Hey, we are coming down to the end. Tell me a little bit about your vision for where your business is going. What do you see a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Are you looking to expand? Are you kind of pivoting, or are you happy with where it's going right now?
Right now, I'm happy with where it's going. I also have 3,000 different ideas for the future.
Only
Constantly,
3,000?
yeah, like I might have another few thousand tomorrow. I'm constantly thinking, oh, I can do this, I can do, but we can't do it all in one day. So baby steps, and I'm heading towards so many great things. And I I'm expanding this year of working with groups instead of one on one, because I have people that want to work in groups as well. Because I do live workshops all the time here in my community,
Okay.
and I also do some on live on Zoom. And then I also created Money School for Moms. And so that is a live group. It's a 12-week group where we get together live, and I teach
On
you
Zoom
everything
or
about it
or in
on
person?
Zoom.
Okay.
I do both actually. And so you can come from anywhere, on Zoom, and we learn everything you never learned in school about money, how to set yourself and your kids up for life, and it's like that is so much fun. This is what lights me up. I love
I
what
can
I
tell
get to
your
do.
expression
It's
changed
so
big time when
fun.
you started talking
I
about
know.
it.
It's just so much fun knowing that I get to do this, and it just makes me so happy. It's why I get up out of bed every day, besides my son. And it's fun.
Well, it also makes you the hero in business. Money management, most people probably wouldn't consider to be heroic, but what you're doing is you're changing people's lives. You're changing these women, but you're also changing how they're changing, hopefully, their children's lives. So you're generationally changing the way people are looking at money, and that is hugely heroic. And in fact, again, I think money affects everything. I mean, money affects relationships. It affects your anxiety, your stress. It affects everything.
Yes.
And honestly, having $1 billion doesn't relieve any less stress than having $10 to your name. It's different stress. So
Yeah.
you are being a hero in the world by helping people just look at it differently and organize and make themselves more peaceful in their own life and more joyful looking. I mean, who hasn't put a bunch of money in a savings, account and looked at it and say, damn, I did that. That's cool. I mean, you can't help but not be, one, proud of yourself, but like there's just something cool that it's in that account that I didn't spend it, whether you're a spender or not. So I think that's amazing. Before we finish off, tell the listening audience, how can they reach you? What's your website? What's your basic information?
My website is momswhomoney.com. My podcast is also Moms Who Money. And 2 really great episodes that you can go listen to are The Money Story, which you should definitely check out and start there. And then also Lifestyle Creep is one of the best episodes. It's one of the most popular. It's just learning about lifestyle creep and what lifestyle creep is. Basically what it is, it's the more money you make, the more you spend. And just a whole way to think about it.
And is it on your website?
Yeah, you can find my podcast right through my website.
Okay. Well, terrific. It has been a real honor to have you on here. I being a guy who did a lot of financial work in a past life, in a past business, I think it's truly amazing what you're doing, and it is so needed out there, not just for the mothers but the children as well. And hopefully those that are listening, start doing your planning. Reach out to Eileen. Look at her website. Listen to podcasts, but start doing something, because it will make your life so much better, so much easier, and just so much less stressful when you start becoming free of those bondages that money sometimes puts on you. So again, thank you very much. It has been a real pleasure, and keep doing what you're doing. For those out there in the listening audience, be a hero in your own business, be a hero in your own community. I'd love to be able to showcase you on the podcast, and everybody have a fantastic week.